Welcome. This is 30 Minutes of Truth for Life with Pastor Poole, pastor of the Bethesda Baptist Church located in Muskegon, Michigan. Join Bethesda each week on this station as we meet the challenge of change through Truth for Life. And now, Pastor Poole.
Joy. Now we've been made endure for a night. When I got up this morning, everything was alright. But thank God, I still have joy. I still have joy. I still have joy. You see, the Lord is the joy of my life. I still have joy. I still have so much joy. When I went to bed last night, I had joy. I'm so thankful that I have joy. I have joy. How many have that good joy? I still have so much joy. Yes, I have. Well, now through the storm and the rain, through heartache, death and pain, I
I'd like to share with you today from these passages as a foundation for the proclamation. And I'd like for you to note that there are terminology that we will use that become important to understanding how we interpret the text for our meaning of life today. And the words are encounter, resist, and overcome. Encounter, resist, and overcome. But in the text that we have today gives a testimony, if you will, of what took place with him in his life. And he didn't want to boast about it, but it was something that was very meaningful to him and meaningful to the direction that his life had taken, and was certainly worthy of mention, not for the point of giving him glory, but expressing the fact that the God whom he recognized at this time, that he came to know better through Jesus Christ, was the reason for his great exhilaration and praise where he is concerned. So a few Sundays ago, as we made mention of our time, we talked about the fact of how important it is for us as preachers today to recognize that when we preach, that we preach not simply with the history of the text that we talk about in mind, but that we preach with contemporality as it relates to the things that are happening in the day that we live. For if you will recognize the Old Testament, you will recognize that the prophets were called to preach about what the future was going to bring based upon what the living was in the time that they lived. And maybe as a part of your researching something that you might hear today, you may want to go back and look at Ezekiel, the 2nd chapter, and see how the Lord called him as a prophet and sent him forth to carry a message to the rest of the world, so that those persons who heard the message might prepare themselves for what the Lord wanted them to do. As you look at this chapter in Mark, you find the Lord sending out men, disciples, to carry a message to the rest of the world. And when I look at the text that we have, I am reminded how important it is that we contemporize what the Lord has sent those to do and make that as real as possible for our own day and time, that the Lord is speaking to us. It's not a story we're reading for our enjoyment, but it is the gospel that we're reading for our enlargement in life and to become that for which God is calling us to be in our day, and for the benefit of those who will come after us in the days that are yet to come. One of the things I think that we have to look at in the very beginning is that if we are Christians, we have to recognize that the culture that is of our day is calling upon us for a pronounced evidence of our faith. A pronounced evidence of our faith. And I use the terminology pronounced evidence of our faith because that makes a distinction between our talking about what is faith and living what is faith. Not just reading about it and telling somebody that this is the meaning, but from our living day by day, showing what faith is in God. What faith is where our particular way of life is concerned. For faith is what we must live. And faith comes out of our belief of what has been given to us by God. If we don't believe that God has given us something, we don't have anything to have faith in. But we believe that God has given us something. So we believe that, and because of our belief in it, our faith grows in him because we recognize its productivity in our lives every day. That's why when you get up and you pass through a circumstance, you can say, I'm not the same as I used to be. I don't do things like I used to do things. I don't talk like I used to talk. And what's that? I don't walk like I used to walk. I'm different because of a living faith, a faith that is active, whereby I demonstrate to the rest of those that I know who I am, rather than just talking about something that I don't know about. How we live tells the story of our life and our expectation. Yeah. That's what belief and faith is all about. Believe it, and then we live it. That means we have faith, we anticipate it. I think I talked about faith a Sunday or two ago. Then we anticipate it. I mentioned the other night or somewhere that faith is anticipatory, that when we believe something, we expect it. And so our faith says it's going to happen. And so down the road, even though we may not be experiencing it today, we know it's going to happen. We believe strongly that it's going to happen. And because we believe that, then we work toward it. And working toward it, when I say work toward it, I mean we live toward it. Every day of our lives is dedicated to the fact that we anticipate that, and we're moving toward gaining it for ourselves as we believe it to be. So we live the story of our lives. We live that story out day by day. That's the way we live our lives. And in this day, people are demanding that you that you live like you talk. That you live like you talk. If you got a great talking space, then there ought to be some living space, something that you're doing that people can see, not just hear what you're talking about, but see what you're doing. And that's a part of this whole idea of being a Christian. Christians are called to encounter. They are called to encounter, first of all, what their lives are all about, so that they can then encounter what the world is all about in order to change the attitude of the world as it relates to God. Amen. Is that clear? Amen. You can't be a Christian without having some experience. To be a Christian means that you're encountering the things of life. And in your encounter of the things of life, you are learning from Christ the principles, the source of power that it takes to live through those things that you encounter. Amen. Amen. The next term that I want to mention and say some things about is that when we don't have to say let it go on, it doesn't bother me, but we need to go to it, act upon it, and resist it. Amen. Resist it. We don't have to be swallowed up by it. We go to change it, and in order to change it, you have to resist it. You don't become a part of it. Lord said, I want you to go. And when you read in Mark, you see how the Lord wanted them to go. He wanted them to go and take a message. But he didn't want them to become inflated to the point where they became useless. Or maybe I can put it another way. He didn't want them to become so involved and so proud of what they have that they destroyed themselves with the very thing that they were supposed to be doing. You've heard me use terminology that you would say maybe he shouldn't use at times, but I think it's proper. I've said before that I believe that in our world today that there are too many who are Christians who are in churches who are turning the church into an entertainment. And they are turning it into an entertainment with the guise of getting disciples. They're saying our pews are empty and we've got to use these ways to get to the world. But when you read your Bible, the Lord didn't send us out to entertain the world. He sent us to give the word to the world. Amen. So that men might be saved. He didn't send us out to get in cahoots with the world. He sent us out to make it plain to them of the gospel that would save them. I guess I can tell this story. I was speaking to someone who you might know just this past week. And they were telling me about they had visited a church where they were visiting in the town. And they were telling me what a large church it was and how well it seemed to be getting along. And they went not one time, but a couple of times. And then they showed me a bottle. And I was told that each time you went to the church, and everybody that went into that church got this bottle that looked like a champagne bottle, small, and you were given to it. And at a particular time in the service, you opened the bottle and drank from it. And I was told how the parking lots were jammed and how the seats were filled, and this mega building was filled with people, and people were all excited. And so I kept listening for something else. And the something else was that at a certain time, they drank whatever Kool-Aid or whatever they had in the bottle. But I had never heard what really happened of change for the people who drank from the bottle in the service. Are you following me? The gospel is supposed to create a change in the attitude and the lives of the individual who take it into their lives. And then you have its effect not for a moment, but for a lifetime. Now I want to sit that in the corner right there. And I want to add something for you to think about. That those of us who are Christians, when we are exposed to these things, we must be wise enough from the gospel to recognize that we're supposed to resist the entertainment popular attraction and understand that God is real and that God doesn't need some super act to gain the heart of the individual. So sometimes when we get all enamored about what somebody's doing and how the crowd is coming, we have to consider what is it that's drawing them. Is it the gospel? Or is it some man-made thing that will not last? We are called upon to be disciples. And the Lord calls upon us to be disciples and gives us the power to resist those things in the world because he sends us to the world for change. He sends us to the world for change so that we can overcome the evils. Overcome the wrongs that are there so that we can establish the fact that he is God. Well, how do you arrive at that point? When he sends me on this trip to witness for him, he tells me, take nothing for the journey except a staff. Just take a walking stick. You don't need nothing elaborate. Just take a walking stick and go. And even beyond that, I heard him say, don't worry about what you shall eat or what you shall drink. He says, take no bread. Go and believe that I'll take care of you. Go and understand that I won't let you go hungry. Go and understand that I'll make a way for you. I'll shelter you. I'll keep you from those things that would destroy you because you are my messenger. And then don't take no bag. You don't need no baggage. You don't need something that's going to drag you down. Which brings me to another illustration that I won't use in all of its entirety. But sometimes where the church is concerned, we become more concerned about style than we do the solidity of the word. Don't take no bag, no money, no belt. Wear sandals. Don't even take an extra shirt. And if any place will not welcome you to listen to you, leave that place and shake the dust from your feet. Meaning, don't worry about it. The important thing is that you have given them the word. And if they do not accept it, then the burden is upon them and not the giver of the message. God sends us into the world to carry a message. And we don't have to worry about what burdens of failure are, because with God there is no failure in God. If God sends you to do something, it may look like you have failed, but if you have followed God's plan, you have not failed. Others may see you as down, but God sees you as up because you have trusted Him in all things. They went out. He sent the 12 out. Read that passage in Mark. He sent them out. They went out. And something was going on. They preached that people should repent. And what happened? Because they went in His name, in His power, they were able to overcome the demons. If you have given yourself to Christ and will choose to live for Christ, He will give you the power to overcome the demons in your life. All of us have some. Show me the individual that doesn't have any. All of us have something that needs to be corrected, changed, removed, empowered. All of us. By grace, you can. Because it is not in your power to do it, but it is in God's power to do it. And that's what Paul is talking about in Corinthians. He says, I'm afraid to tell you some things because I don't want to appear to boast. But something happened to me. Has anything happened to you? Since you've been saved, has anything happened to you that is different since you know the Lord? Paul declares, something happened to me. And for the life of me, I've not been able to explain it. Maybe I was in body or out of body. I don't know. But it happened. I'm not who I used to be. It happened. I don't act like I used to act. I'm not thirsty for the blood of others. I'm not thirsty to tear down. I'm not the same individual that I was. Something happened to me. And that happened is that God has given me the power to resist and overcome. Have you had some habit? You didn't get rid of it overnight. First, the Lord taught you how to resist it. And then later on, you were able to say, I've overcome. Because I've done more than simply resist it. I don't desire it at all. Has anything ever happened in your life that you felt great shame about? God gives us the power to wipe away the shame. And we can talk about our experiences, and we can talk about them from a God side. We can say, God changed me. God moved that out of the way. God fixed me. God gave me power to walk by it. He gives us power to resist and overcome. And it doesn't matter how powerful the devil may seem. He does not have the power of God. Amen. That's why Paul has to remember, by grace, his grace is sufficient. In anything, any situation of life, God's grace will bring you through, will bring you out. And so tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your friend, tell your neighbor, tell the person you have in the workplace with you. Tell that person, you know somebody who's able to change everything in your life. All you have to do is believe him. If you believe him, he'll give you the faith of obedience that will cause you to walk in the way that gives you victory. And you'll be able to say for truth, victory is mine. Victory is mine. I didn't get it. God got it for me. Victory is mine. He gave me his son. He shed his blood. He went to the grave. He got up. Victory is mine.